Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Eli and Mike on our podcast here in Beverly Hills. Love to introduce you guys to an amazing influencer. He actually has done so many different things, which we're going to actually go into in detail.
Right.
But let's start off by introducing Dylan Huey. Hey, Dylan, how are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Thank
Yeah, I'll give a little background about myself because I
Please.
feel like I do a little bit of everything. But
Okay.
I love that.
I was on a call earlier today, and someone was like telling me, and they were like, "Yeah, we did some research. You're an influencer. You're a CEO. You're a little bit of everything." I'm like, "Yeah." I feel like people who are in the creator space, they're creators or they're industry people, right?
Mhm.
And if they're an industry people, they only know me for being like in the industry. And if they're a
Right.
creator, they only know me for being in a creator. So when people like know that I do like both,
Yes.
I'm just like, wow, like
Right.
you did your research.
Right, right.
But yeah, I mean, I started off as a creator on Musical.ly, a little lip syncing app, making
Okay,
short form
okay.
content when I was 14 years old.
Are you
Love
still
it.
on Musical.ly? Is that
Well,
still
it's
something
TikTok
going on?
now.
It's
Yeah,
TikTok
it's
now.
changed,
Oh, okay.
it's
See, I had no
changed.
idea.
Yeah, it's TikTok now.
Right.
But I was doing like the little like TikTok Musical.ly dances,
Okay.
all of that stuff when I was
No
younger.
way. You
I
were that
was-
guy that was dancing in front of the...
I was.
And lip
I'm gonna-
syncing and lip
and
syncing.
lip syncing.
I'm gonna have to start
Okay,
scrolling.
Right. We're gonna have to find these older videos.
It's on to the internet somewhere. Your social footprint never disappears.
You
Wow.
know, we're gonna find it. We're gonna find
So
it.
I was on that. I was live streaming for 5 hours a day, every single day
Oh
growing up.
wow.
So when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, started doing that. That's my like creator path, and I have 6 million followers on socials cumulative now. I
Nice.
get 20 million views every day on Snapchat. But then in addition to that, I've always been very entrepreneurial. So I started a company called Reach, which started off as an influencer organization at USC, grew it out to 100 universities, and then
Wow.
grew that out even further into a for-profit marketing agency, talent agency, and we have a venture studio where we have equity in 25 companies, all seed round venture-backed companies. So
Amazing.
I feel like I do a
Powerful.
little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right,
That was a
right.
great
This is-
summary. I like
there's
that.
So many
It's
different.
my little
things,
1 minute like elevator
you know?
spiel.
Right, right.
If we were to go backwards, so obviously you did a quick summary. What is the origins of you? Like when you started being a very young individual, you grew up. What is it? What exactly was your lifestyle at that point? Or
Yeah,
how
that's
do you
a great
remember
question. Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in Silicon Valley, and that's
Okay.
heart of technology. When I was in
Yes.
middle school, I was mentored by Reed Jobs, Steve Jobs' son. I did all my volunteer hours with Guy Kawasaki's daughter. Guy
my
Kawasaki was one of the first employees of Apple.
Okay.
Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter and Square. So I grew up in that neighborhood. My mom made a video game called Sonic the Hedgehog, which is Little Blue Hedgehog, and she also created this thing called Xbox Live,
Okay.
which was like the first membership of a console, and she
Yes.
kind of pioneeered that. My dad was CFO of Sega for 20 years. So,
So hold on.
Right, yeah, this is-
Let's hold on
Yeah.
here.
It's
like
This
so
is not.
epic.
This is not little
Like
stuff.
I'm
I
turning
mean,
red right now. I don't know if anybody else is.
no, I mean,
but-
you said Sonic. You said Xbox
Xbox
Live.
Live,
I
yeah.
mean, these are foundational things that today are multi-billion-dollar companies.
Uh-huh.
and maybe
100%.
it wasn't you who created it, but these are
I
your
didn't
parents.
create
You know, right? But these are your parents, people who you're around every single day. So obviously, this like creativity is being like.
well, it was heart of tech. I mean, my mom was one of the first female executives in the gaming industry, and Silicon Valley is the heart of technology. For me especially, I always, growing up, wanted to find what my path was, what I
Yes.
wanted to pioneer.
Mhm.
When I was 5 years old, my mom made me do piano lessons, and then
Okay.
when I was 11, my mom made me play guitar.
Mm.
But me being a young individual, I wanted to find my pioneer in that. So even before I started doing social media, I was doing electronic dance music. That was my passion. I
Got
loved
it.
making EDM music.
Mhm.
I was working with Warner Music Group, right?
Amazing.
So that's on the music side. Like that's just an anecdote of like, here's me finding my own path. And then for the technology world, it was social media. I was 14. I was getting bullied in middle school. And for me, I found my following live streaming, showing other people that there's others who relate to them.
Yes.
So I started off on Musical.ly. Before then, I didn't have any social media platform. I didn't have an Instagram, anything whatsoever.
Okay.
But I had a Musical.ly, and I made a Musical.ly account. Went live. That first week, I gained 30,000 followers.
Wow.
So I dove in the deep end very quickly.
Wow.
I was doing music before, working with Warner Music Group, but social media started to take off. 30,000 followers first 6
Yes.
months, 100,000 followers. Started going on influencer tours across the United States. I was on a tour called Part of My Story. I was on
Okay.
Good Times Live. I was on Lights Out tour.
Amazing.
A few other
Okay.
ones.
Yes.
But like it truly was because I wanted to find a community. I was getting bullied in middle school as any young individual. I wanted to, find a way to connect with others, wherein, school for me wasn't a place where I could find that connection. So social media took off, and, I was live streaming, being able to interact with people. And, when I was going on tour, what was unique was that I could actually meet the people who interact with my live streams. I had parents coming into my mom and I saying, hey, your son's live streams saved our children's lives. Wow. And I think that was such an inspiration to me about the value of social media, which is a platform that is typically, controversial, right? People get cyberbullied. There's death threats, all these stuff. But there's such a positive light on social media that is rarely talked about amongst the sea of negative.
And so you're 14 years old and you're getting bullied, and you, like you just said, most people are going to look at social media like you're probably going to get bullied there too, if not worse. So then what made you, have the heart to be like, I'm going to do this anyways, especially if you're getting bullied?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, being a young person, I wanted to stick at anything. Originally, social media was kind of just for myself, right? I was posting motivational quotes for myself. That vibe where you're like posting on Twitter, Instagram story, where it's like, hey, here's my like Bible verse of the day, or here's my little thing that's going to be like a message that other people will see, but it's really just for me. That was my thing, was posting those messages. And on Musically, when I was doing my lip syncing videos, like anecdotally, I'd add those little quotes on the bottom, like, you would kill it today, like, I know that you're gonna do great things, blah blah. That way it would inspire me. And I think like social media is always notoriously a place where there are mean comments, etc. And I would say that I'm not someone who hasn't gotten that. I've gotten my fair share of death threats. I've gotten, I've had FBI swatted. My parents' bank accounts have been leaked. And that's all negative. But I think the positive that outweighs the negative, with the ability to communicate with other people that you wouldn't be able to meet otherwise, the ability to build a connection and community truly in a way that you can't do in person. And I value the importance of in person so much. I think in person is so valuable, but once you start thinking on a global level, I mean, social media has allowed the entire world to be democratized and to be able to communicate. That's been so important about my origin story, that, I do amazing things now. I'm able to go to movie premieres. I'm able to work with top executives in the creator industry. I'm able to meet like people that I was a fan of when I was a kid. Cameron Dallas, we talked about him just right before this. Like, truthfully, if you look at any interview of mine from 2016 that said, who's your favorite influencer? Who do you want to play you in a movie? I said Cameron Dallas every time. Right? And the ability to say that those people are my friends now because of social media is so incredible.
I have a question for you. So most people that get bullied, because I used to be bullied as well in high school and then even in junior high, they're usually introverts. Do you consider
very introverted?
You're very you don't seem so communicatively, but what may have changed that, breaking that barrier from the introvert to who you are today?
Well, I tell people I'm an extroverted introvert now.
Let's break that out. Like, what does that mean?
People know me in the creator space that I'll only go to an event for 15 minutes. Like, I truly don't want to be at events. It's not because I don't like the people who are putting it on or blah blah. I just unless I know you well, I'm not gonna go up to you. I'm just scared to go up to people. I'm scared to be social. And I think that's what's been great for me, talking behind a camera of 20,000 people. I see it as a phone camera. I don't see the number and correlate the ability to see 20,000 people. Right? And that has allowed me to be more open. That's the same as going to conferences for me. I'm not going to go up to people unless I know them well, like VidCon, right? People know me at VidCon now, but I'm not walking up to those individuals. What's been great is I spent a few years while I was in college reaching out to all these creator economy executives myself via email and setting up 30-minute Zoom meetings to meet them, so that now when I go to VidCon and these conferences, I already know them. I already talked to them. They've already met me.
Yes.
Now I can meet them in person without that awkward intro.
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to say it?
Exactly.
I'm just like, that for me is very overwhelming.
Wow.
So that's like me being an introvert. And I also like, people say I'm really mean when they first meet me, but that's genuinely just because I'm so introverted that I'm
sense.
like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Blah, blah. But I'm
Yes.
also like, I've been in this industry for so long. When I was 16, I managed Lil Huddy. I got him from 200K to 5 million followers in a year and a half.
my
I have
gosh,
access to
amazing.
all these movie premieres.
Yes.
Now I'm also like subconsciously thinking like, do they want something from me?
Oh, right.
And like, I love giving to people and I love helping out all of my friends. And anyone who knows me knows I will go above and beyond for any stranger in my life. But there's also a subconscious, I'm like, oh, they might be using me, you know? And that also gets
Of
me
course.
really scared
Right.
about my relationships with people, especially like in dating side of things, not even just like on the creator side of things. It's like, who's really trying to know me for me?
Wow. Yes,
Wow, you know
exactly.
what? To add to that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You just explained my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm always been an introvert, and
Yeah.
then I'm kind of like you. I'm an extrovert when I choose to be around
Yeah.
people that I'm comfortable with.
Totally.
But I also have that face where people might look at me and be like, I don't know if he's approachable.
Yeah.
So I share that understanding
100%.
that it's gonna be easier to understand this dude because he's a full-on extrovert,
Yeah.
100%.
I love it.
But
There's
I learned
no
from
introvert about him at
introverts.
all.
I learned
Yeah.
from introverts.
But he's learning from introverts.
Well,
But-
what's great is that you know, especially like for me at my company, Reach, like my team is a mix of introverts. My team is a mix of extroverts. You're always going to work with introverts and extroverts. I know how to play off of my extrovert friends'
Right.
strengths. Their strength, go up to people, talk to people, socialize.
Right.
My mom, great at being extrovert, great at networking.
Yes.
She throws on events all the time, similar to me throwing on events, you know, but she's the one who's bouncing around to people, making sure that they're all taken care of, all of that, which is great. I love that. And I love that she does that. She'll go out of her way to make sure that she's introing people together. For me, I don't want to feel like a burden to other people, right? And you know, I know that that's my mom's skill. So when my mom and I go to events together, networking events, that's what we tag team on. I know people and I know them well. If I've met you, I know you well. I'll go out of my way. I'll find ways to connect the dots and intro you to people that you should know.
Yes.
But my mom's the one who's like, let's go meet 500 people
Right.
today,
And
right? And that's my mom's
Yeah.
strength,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
She'll go out and she'll send me, you know, people's numbers. Sean does magic. Here's his phone number. I'm like,
Yes.
Mom, like,
Right.
what am I going to do? Am I just going to text him? Like, what do you want me to do with this phone
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
But she does that all the time with, you know,
Amazing.
big creators. And that's her strength. That's what she's great
Love
at.
that, love
And
that.
that's her specialty.
And is your father the opposite, or?
My dad's very introverted.
Okay.
He's also very work focused, right? So
Okay.
growing up especially in a family where it's very focused on being in Silicon Valley, around brand, and around deals, around mergers and acquisitions.
Yes.
I think my family was very unique. That we did feel like a very business relationship focused family.
Okay.
It wasn't like the daily, like, I love you, blah, blah. It was like,
Got it.
hey, my mom's working on her company. My dad's working on the company he's at, blah, blah. I mean, my dad's always traveling, which is great. I mean, it built a unique value for me where, you know, I could work so many days on my side
Right.
and not get burnt out and know that, you know, I've been trained at a young age to be very, you know, persevere a lot and do really well at that. Work hard. You know, we grew up in Silicon Valley, and you know the city that I went to high school in. It's a city called Atherton.
Okay.
Atherton's the richest zip code in America.
Oh my gosh, no
right,
way.
and
Even more than Beverly Hills?
even more. Average house is
Nice.
$10 million.
Oh wow.
Powerful.
Yeah,
No
so it's
way.
That's good to know. I would have never known.
It's an
I never
expensive.
knew
Atherton.
this.
It's an
And
expensive
I'm a realtor,
town.
should
I guess
know
we're
this.
moving
I
to
should know
Atherton,
this.
Mike.
Right, yeah.
Hey,
We
you
can't
make
be here
some-
anymore.
Make some good
We're in the
commission
wrong
over
city.
there.
There you go.
We're in the wrong
So-
city.
I thought Beverly Hills was the right one.
No, this is expensive.
Wow, okay.
It's all the big top executives in Silicon Valley live there, right? So, you know, I grew up in that city, right? And my family is not that family. We didn't grow up inheriting money. You know, both my parents are from San Francisco. They, you know, they both have a lot of family members. Their parents are immigrants. Like, my family grew up knowing what it is to work hard, and I grew up learning that same thing from them. So that's like a unique thing that like the average family wasn't able to get or hasn't gotten. That's unique for us.
Right.
And especially in that town.
Well, that town is all like kids my age who've like have trust funds or like driving Porsches and great, like they should drive Porsches, do that.
Yes.
But like for me, like I was like, how can I make my mark? How can I fit in? Right. I was also bullied, and there's multiple reasons why I was bullied. I wasn't that kid who had that $10 million house like every other person. Right. I had a modest house in the town next to it, in a private school that was $60,000 a year. And my parents had to work hard to be able to pay for that tuition.
Now, were you an only child?
No, I have an older brother.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have an older brother. He graduated from UC San Diego.
Okay.
He's 3 years older than me. And he's like very similar to me in the sense like introverted. I haven't been able to crack his personality, but like I said, like the family ties are so different from your average family. That's like I'm coming to my brother when I need like business help or business advice, and my brother's great at cryptocurrency, stuff like that. It's always very much like a business-focused family dynamic.
Got it.
Okay, got it. And
like a very unique thing.
Yeah, no, that is unique. And also, well, how old are you? Because
I'm 23.
Okay. Oh my gosh, like you've accomplished so much.
Thank you.
And the young age that you are, so.
Thank you.
I'm turning red again because this is like amazing stuff that you're doing.
It's just the lighting. No.
Oh yeah, it's the lighting. There's like some big lights behind the cameras, guys. But wow, like that's like really, like amazing. Like everything. Like wow.
Did you ever feel? I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No, it's fine.
Do you ever feel like there was a lot of pressure from your family, from your mom and dad, knowing that there's an expectation of you to be where you're at right now?
It's interesting because both of my parents pioneered their own industry, and they went into that industry kind of defying odds, and obviously they have great accomplishments. For me, that's been the same thing. I think more than the pressure, there's hesitancy in what I do. When I was 14 years old, going to these influencer tours, my parents witnessed kids who are also 14 years old drunk, without parents, going to these tours, traveling by themselves, right? And my parents are very educated. They went to college. They got a master's degree, all these things. And that was very much always set for me was you're going to go to college. You're going to get a degree. You're going to do whatever you want, and there was never a string attached of what do you want to do and having that set expectation, which is great. But there's always been the aspect of you are not these kids who are also 15 years old who are dropping out of school to pursue social media, live in LA. So that's the reason why I live in LA is because I graduated from USC, right? My negotiation with my mom and my dad was if I wanted to live in LA, I had to go to a college in Los Angeles, right? So there's always been that pressure of education. I wanted to drop out when I was 16 like every other creator, but my mom said no. Like there's always that level of you're not these kids. You're, my mom has always said, like, we're in the wrong room if we're the smartest person in the room. So we've always tried to find the next room to go into.
Wow.
That's powerful.
That's so powerful. And since we're talking about your mom really quick, I had this question in my mind, and I'm just going to throw it out there.
Ask about tails.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe.
Knuckles.
I was like, okay, so are you like the original Sonic? Is that why she created like Sonic the Hedgehog, but at the same time you're too young to be Sonic the Hedgehog? I was
too young. What's funny is our dog is named Shadow.
No way.
Yeah, so we have a little dog named Shadow.
That makes sense.
Which is great. We have a lot of anecdotes in our family about Sonic. Obviously, both of my parents met at Sega, right? Because Sonic's owned by Sega.
That's amazing.
So we're a very gaming industry focused family.
Love it.
We have a lot of like Stan Lee comic books that are signed in our garage.
Wow.
A lot of the things when it comes to like IP and licensing, like we've been able to be in that room where we can be able to see what building property and characters are really like, which is great.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
What's
awesome.
so going back into your youth, obviously you have the pressures of your family.
Yeah.
What did you want to be when you grew up? What was it?
What did I want to be?
Yeah, what did you want to be? Because you're obviously doing all these thousands of things now,
Yeah.
and you were, an introvert, but obviously you're mixed into it now. But do you remember what you actually wanted
Yeah,
to be?
I mean, here's the thing. I started social media at such an early age, at a young age,
Which was
compared
14?
to like 14 years old,
Right.
right? So before then, I could say, hey, I wanted to be whatever I wanted to be. I wanted to be an entrepreneur before social
Okay.
media. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was 10 years old, I started this like little bake sale in front of my local country club, and I gave 100% of that profit to the World Wildlife Fund. And that's my mom's first like anecdote into like Dylan trying to start like business stuff. And then after the year after that, I started a shoe boutique agency. And I was reselling shoes and also buying wholesale clothes to resell to my friends. So there's always been a young entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
But for me, like 14 years old is so young that like
Right.
that's really a defining factor of
Mhm.
me saying growing up. Like growing up is 14 years old, where everyone else is playing Legos. I
Right,
was live streaming
right.
on social media. But my
Wow.
thing when I was 14 was like, I want to at least inspire one person. And I knew if I could inspire one person, then my whole career has been fulfilled. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that was tangibly, and I still don't know what that is. Right? My company Reach is legitimately my playground to be able to do whatever fun thing I want to do. Talent management, marketing agency. We have equity in all these different companies. You know, it's been my playground because I want to have just a space where I can have fun and really just inspire the next generation. But as well, like it's always been about just one person.
That's amazing. Sounds like your inspiration is your mom and your dad. And obviously, as you've grown, you also have Cameron Dallas, who inspired you to do what you're doing with social media.
A lot of people.
It
have
sounds like there's a
inspired.
lot.
Yeah.
So what's something that I think has held you back in other avenues that you're looking for? Because knowing you so
Yes.
far that we've done this
Right,
interview,
right, yes.
it sounds like you're somebody who doesn't seem to do more. Because even though you're doing so much, I feel like you're always questioning, should I do more? Am I doing
I
enough?
time everything well.
Okay.
I think like the entrepreneurial mindset is always to go 100%. But for me, like I know that most entrepreneurs fail, right? I grew up in Silicon Valley, and I've seen companies rise and then
Yes.
fall very quickly. And there's a
Wow.
lot of reasons about that. But everyone asks me like, how did Reach come to fruition? It started off as a student organization, right? But then we have so many departments now, so it feels like we do a little bit of everything. But I've always told everyone that it's never been something that I forced. I never force all this growth of divisions because it doesn't make sense for me to take a million different things on at the same time, right? It would spread myself too wide, and then I would get into an area where I'm just mediocre at 100 different things, which I don't want to do. I want to be good at every single thing that I do, right?
Right.
So for me, like my path on the Reach side was this. We started off as a student organization. Then from there, we had brands reaching out to us saying, hey, you have all these college students who, you know, have followers. We want to tap in these college students. Can you help us? So I spent a whole year doing pro bono marketing work, and I did about $10 million of just in-kind work to these brands like NASCAR and Netflix, which was great. I loved it.
Amazing.
But then I was like, hey, we have 250 brands that we've worked with. Like, we should be charging for that, right? So that's where we launched our marketing agency side. And then beyond that, after that, creators from when I grew up, when I was, you know, a very young age, who grew up with me, they were like, hey, you're getting all these brand deals. Can you help us get these brand deals, right? So then we launched our talent division. And then companies came to us and were like, hey, you're doing all this marketing work for these top brands. Can you help us? And then, you know, they'd have $10,000, $15,000 budget. And I'd be like, honestly, truthfully, your company sounds great, but $10,000 isn't going to break you into a success. You know, so why don't you give us equity, and I'll help you grow very organically in a way that's going to help sustain, right? So everything's been so organic. I have
Amazing.
definitely a lot of big dreams for Reach, like starting a restaurant and doing a mall, real estate,
Yes.
blah, blah, all
Okay,
these different
yes.
things, which is great. But it's really a matter of time, and it's if it fits in the game plan.
That's
I love that.
amazing. Yeah, I love that too because you grew up in a town where, like you said, businesses rise and fall.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people get to see that. What we, because we're entrepreneurs as well, and
Yeah.
what we usually see is the rise, and you hear about the fall, but you're not like seeing it in play all the time. For the most part,
It
like
happens so often
yeah,
though.
and you
It's-
get to see that, and
Yeah.
so like you sharing this story right now is any entrepreneurs who are watching it, or even ourselves, it's kind
Right.
of like, you know, do things organically when the
Yeah.
time is right, and don't
And
over leverage.
what's
yourself.
great for me, like, is that Reach wasn't my first company. I
Okay.
started multiple companies before this. I had a company called Opal where I spent $200,000 of my own cash into it when I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I started it. It was a blockchain Web3 NFT platform, right? I started it with my best friend from high school. And I learned a lot of lessons from there. Before that, I had a talent management company where I managed people like Lil Huddy and other people. You know, I stopped that. I got burnt out because it was just me, right? And then for Opal, I had 30 employees. So Reach is my fourth company, and every single time I've learned different lessons throughout. You know, from Opal, I learned don't hire too many people all at once. Don't hire too many college students all at once. From my talent management company, don't do everything by yourself, right? So there's always been these small things that I've learned that has helped me get to where I am.
Well,
do you have?
Oh, I'm so
Go
sorry. I
ahead,
have to ask this question. I know. Just because we're on the topic, how do you deal with the burnout? Like, how do you deal with that? Because most people will burn out and then they don't go back to starting another business, or they might just go back to, 9 to 5 or whatever. So, like, how do you deal with that burnout?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is that I wouldn't be doing something if I didn't enjoy doing it. That's the first thing. Like, especially like as a creator, like
Yes.
you and I know, like the creator space is insane. Everyone
Right.
gets burnt out. I got
Yes.
burnt out from being an influencer for 2 years when I was in high school,
Okay.
right? And most people don't go viral until their 700th video. So if you're not posting what you love,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna post 700 videos
Oh
of
my
something that you
gosh.
don't enjoy doing
Wow.
it.
Right.
Why would you do that? Why would you put
Exactly.
yourself through that burden,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
That's the first thing
Okay.
is that I only do projects and take on projects that I actually enjoy doing. And
Enjoy.
I'm so grateful I'm in an industry that's so fun, going to movie premieres, going to
Right.
events, being able to
It's
help
amazing.
my friends make money. My mindset is I'm always every day helping my friends make money, whether it be a brand, whether it be a creator. There's always somebody that I'm helping. That's always
Powerful.
what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to help at least one person.
Yes.
So that's
Wow.
been my motivation on my side. But I think beyond that, there's a lot of AI tools nowadays that I utilize to help me be more efficient and productive and effective. I surround myself with people who are only going to uplift me. A lot of my friends are creators, but a lot of my friends also aren't creators, right? And they love the fact that they get to go to movie premieres, and I get to bring people to these events that they would never have been able to get to otherwise. There's so many things that I'm so grateful for, and I think it's been a mindset. I mean, I get 2 hours of sleep every single day,
No
and I've been
way.
doing that for the last 5 years.
No.
And I've never had coffee in my life.
Oh
right?
my
That's the
God.
wildest part. I've never had
What?
coffee in my life.
So 2 hours of
that is
sleep
cool.
and no coffee.
I legitimately have been running, at least in the last 3 months, I've purely been running on like raspberry lemonade every single morning.
And mac and cheese.
And mac and cheese. That's genuinely it.
Wow.
I don't have coffee. I don't have tea, all of that. But it's
Wow.
because this industry is so fun. And if you make your work feel
Wow.
like it's fun, which as a creator, there should never be a time where you feel like it's work. Content should always feel fun. Like
Right.
I stopped doing music because it felt like work. Making
Yes.
music when I was signed a record label
Okay.
felt like I had obligations to make my manager money, to make an agent money, to make my family money, to make myself money. That just seemed so tedious. But for other people, music is their life, right? They love music, and that for them is their perfect calling. So find your calling, and it's always a trial and error. I would say, like, you're never gonna find it at a time that you expect it to happen. Like for me, I found social media when I was getting bullied, right? At a time where I didn't think I would find anything is when I found it. So it's always the time when you least expect it to
Wow.
come.
Powerful.
That is so
Yeah,
amazing.
that's some of the uniquenesses of things that we do. We're obviously in real estate and mortgage
Yeah.
here in Beverly Hills. That's our main business.
Yeah.
And then we obviously do the influencing as a way to get brands, and also it is something that we love fashion.
I love it.
That's our
Yeah.
main thing. We love dressing. We love dressing people. So it is
Yeah.
something that we enjoy. So it's interesting how you say that you have to really love your job, because there's times
Yeah.
that we've done other things, and we love podcasting because these interviews are so
Totally.
precious. It's like reading a
Yes,
book about
totally.
something
Like
that we
being
don't
here
know.
with you, we love it.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
amazing to connect with.
It
people,
really is.
100%.
You know.
But it's great that you brought that up, because there's so many people in the world, that even people that are watching, that don't love what they do at all, but they're still doing it.
Another thing that's always beneficial that I tell everyone, especially if you're an influencer starting out, is delegate,
Mm-hmm.
right? Find what you don't enjoy doing, because no matter what, you're going to know that there's something that you don't enjoy doing.
Right.
For
Mm-hmm.
me, it was editing. Being a
Okay,
creator, I
okay.
didn't like editing. I
Yes.
didn't like the editing process.
right.
So that was the first person I hired.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
There's talent managers, there's agents, and some people are like, get a manager first, get an agent. They're going to get you the brand deals. For me, no. I've always loved negotiating and reaching out and responding to the brands. That was my bread and butter. Every single day when I was 15 years old, I'd reach out to 100 brands every single day.
Oh my
Right? So
God.
I've never delegated that, because that's been my enjoyment. Right? I delegate the things that I don't enjoy doing to people who enjoy doing that specific
Powerful.
skill.
That's great. You know what's funny about that is we actually need a manager, because we don't like the managing
Yeah.
part. We love the
Great.
influencing part. We love being on media. We love podcasts. We love
Yeah.
all this. We love real estate. We love mortgage,
Totally.
meeting people, and all that stuff. But we don't like managing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
So-
it's so interesting how you brought that up as a concept, because if a lot of people know, hey, delegate certain aspects of things you don't like,
Yeah.
they should do that, even if it costs a little bit of money, because we
Yeah.
do have assistants, we do have an editor,
Amazing.
and we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to survive the way we live
Yeah.
if we had to do all those jobs. You know what I mean?
100%.
And also have a reason, like
Yeah.
you also just said it once again, because you said it earlier, but as long as you can help one person, and you said that when you were 14, now you're 23 and you're still saying the same thing, like, hey, if I just go to one of these movie premieres and it helps one person connect to another person, that was like something you enjoy. So
Yeah.
if you're enjoying it, it's not work to you, and you help somebody. I mean, this is just so
People
powerful.
ask me, they're like, what do you do for fun? I'm like,
Mhm.
genuinely, like, movie premieres are my
This is
fun.
so
Like,
cool.
I put it on, I get to
Yeah.
bring my friends, right?
Mhm.
But, like,
That's awesome.
never in a million years, like, growing up 15 years old in the Bay Area, like, around, like, all these, like, billionaire executives, would I be able to imagine myself being in an environment where I could look up to all these Hollywood actors and actresses, the ones who I'd watch in movies growing up? I don't really watch movies anymore. I just
Right.
don't have
Right.
time.
Yes.
But, like, growing up, being able to watch these movies. One of my friends, Allison Stoner, she was on
Okay.
Camp Rock, blah, blah. My mom met her this past week. We were in Venice, and my mom met her. Like, she was like Isabella on Phineas and Ferb. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
little
That's so
Dylan
cool.
loved Phineas and Ferb,
Yeah,
and my mom
yeah.
would put that on every single day,
Uh-huh.
right? And Dog with a Blog.
Yes.
That was
Oh
a
my
great
God.
show. I loved watching it.
Yes.
The
Love
redhead,
Dog with a
Francesca
Blog.
Capaldi, she's one of my good friends. Like,
No
these are
way.
people that, like, even my age, peers that I look up to because I watch them on the screen.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
to be able to say that these are the people that I'm in a room with, that I'm helping, that I get to meet, that I get to hang out with, that I get to spend my
That's
every
so
single
amazing.
day with.
Wow.
That's like the best thing.
And it's, even though you're not looking at it like that, it's work, but you're not looking at it like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like so
just
fun. Like, I'll go
powerful.
to a work dinner. I'll be like, hey, like, technically I could write this off, but, like, I'm like barely talking about work. Like,
Yeah,
and for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
like, people know, like, I put on creator dinners all the time, and, like,
Yes.
dinners for my creator friends to, like, hang out. My pet peeve is if people are talking about work, because I
Mhm.
feel like we're always talking about work
Right.
Yes.
nonstop, which is great. Like,
Nonstop.
talk about your career, talk about social media, blah, blah, talk about what content video you're going to make
Yes,
next.
yes.
But I'm like, my big thing has always been, how can I meet people and actually get to know them? I want to get to know the real people
Nice.
and who they are. I'll find a way to help them at some point. You know, I know I'm going to find a way to help them, whether it be an invite to a movie premiere that I'm putting on or a brand deal.
Yes.
You know, like one of my friends, Tim, who makes horror movie content. Like, I've gotten him 5 brand deals already. He has 400,000 followers, right? But, like, these are people that I want to get to know. I want to get to know
Wow,
them,
I love that.
who they actually are, and find ways that I can actually get to know them. I you know, want to make cookies with them. I want to
Right.
make
Mhm.
pizza with them. I
Yes,
want to,
yes,
like,
yes.
go to Top Golf. Like,
Right.
actually make these people my friends, because it's, growing up when I was 16, it always felt like an industry where everyone was social climbing, and I was always that person because of how I started social media,
Right.
getting bullied, trying to have that community. I was always that person trying to grab community. Now I've, you know, been in this industry for so long that I get to start the communities
Wow.
in LA.
Yes.
But, you know, it took me a while to figure out how I can have my voice to be able to connect the room and connect the dots together.
No, that's
So,
great.
so
That's
you're.
great.
It sounds like so. to me, you're a relationship-driven entrepreneur. It's all about who
Yeah.
you know and how you build your circle. And they have to be people that are more talented so that you gain that and you keep building
They
from
don't
it.
have to be more talented. I think that everyone is talented in their own thing.
Okay.
You know, like I like to say that I'm decent at a little bit of everything, right? Sprinkle the sauce and I can make magic happen.
Mhm.
But I think more than that, I try to help people who know who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell people, like, find what your path is and then come to me and I'll help you get to where you want to go.
I love
That's
that.
powerful.
What's held you back from having a relationship?
Well, wait, we haven't even asked this. Are you in a relationship?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
I did more research.
Okay, sorry.
You did
Yeah.
research. What did you find?
You know.
You're not in the relationship. So
Okay.
what's holding you back?
I mean, I have been.
Mhm.
Right.
I was in multiple relationships.
Yes.
And this will go in two forms of questions:
I've dated
business
influencers and I've
Okay.
dated non-influencers.
Okay.
Got it.
Are we talking? We're talking about business and non-business.
Business and non-business, yeah.
Non-business. I think that I have a tendency to attract people who want to social climb the Hollywood star fame ladder.
Relationship-wise, right?
Y-
Relationship-wise.
Yeah,
Okay,
relationship-wise.
So that
dating
sounds
wise.
Yeah.
okay.
yes,
so
yes.
dating wise, people want to use your scope of influence to get to where they.
I
wanna be.
have a tendency to feel that way.
Oh, I see.
Right,
I
right,
see.
right.
A lot of people like going on dates to movie premieres.
Wow.
Oh,
Which is
I
great.
see.
Which is great. But
Like they will actually
But,
ask
yeah, I
you,
get
like,
that.
let's
Yeah.
go on a date to the
Well, then I'll
movie.
be like, well, okay. I started this thing. I was with my friend Simone Harrison,
Okay,
and
no
I made this thing, and I came up with this. I told her about it the day I came up with it
Mhm.
because I was talking to this girl, and I was trying to find a test, right? So Simone and I built this thing out called the cookie test. And it's basically for me because I have a tendency to attract people who want to like social climb.
Right.
It was if they're willing to make cookies with me, either at their apartment, someplace, and there's no event attached, then they actually care about that friendship or relationship,
That's
right?
so cool.
Do we make
Um,
cookies, Mike?
Right. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
always been so.
Wow.
Figure out if you've ever denied someone from making
Okay.
cookies, right? Because there's no benefit
Yeah.
innately that you get from making cookies with someone. It's just a good way to get to know them.
That's so cool.
But if they say, "Hey, no, but can we go to this movie premiere next
Wow.
week?" Or, "Hey, I don't have time," or I've heard other excuses like we already have some other stuff scheduled in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Or they just don't want to do it.
Right.
Like then it's like, okay, well, then they're just trying to use me.
Right.
So that's been
exactly.
like my little test.
That's a great test.
And I've used it on everyone.
That should
Wow,
come in
okay.
packages. You should be able to buy that like at Walmart. Hey, I'm taking the cookie test.
No, actually, that's a really good test. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
that's like really great.
I had to. I was at Simone Harrison's house, and I genuinely had to make cookies with her as a test run because I wanted to make sure I actually knew how to make cookies
Okay.
because I don't bake,
way.
right? So I went to her
Okay.
place and we made like Oreo cookie and cream
No
cookies,
way. Oh my
and then I
God.
got like these animal shaped like cookie cutouts
Mhm.
because I wanted to make it fun.
Mhm.
So I did that. And then after that, I had a recipe to like make cookies, but I
Nice.
needed to
No
like
way.
test it on someone I wasn't dating
Mhm,
to
mhm.
make sure like I didn't actually like make bad cookies.
Right,
That would have
right.
sucked.
Yeah, because when the real one comes along, you're really making those cookies.
Mm.
So
I mean, you're. Oh, okay, I get that now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a dirty
yeah.
question. That's a
Is
dirty
it?
answer.
What?
you're making cookies. Do you get it?
Wow.
You ma-
I don't see the dirty.
I don't see the dirtiness.
But-
Oh,
Yeah.
It's very PG.
I'm just dirty. I'm a Scorpio. I'm always dirty. So
Oh, yeah, he's a
I'm
Scorpio.
thinking about making other cookies.
Oh my god. Well, that's a great thing to do. I think I'm gonna see if anybody asks me
Yeah.
if they ever want me to
Yeah.
make cookies.
So that's on the relationship side.
Got
Okay,
it.
okay.
What about the business relationship?
What was
side?
the question? Business
So,
relationships?
so what's holding you back from having an actual business partner?
I mean, I have a C-suite, right? I have employees.
Right.
And I've had former co-founders of other companies I started. So Opal, my blockchain company, I had a co-founder for that. Reach just wasn't the right time. It's really just been a timing thing. Like I started it myself and You know, for me, like, I'm someone who actually spends 22, 24 hours if I want to building these products up, this company up. Like, for me, I know that if I'm going to do it, I'll take it from 0 to 100, right? I'm not going to half do it. I'm going to do the entire thing. So that's been, like, me on my aspect. I have a C-suite. Everyone's double my age, and I consider my C-suite, like, the people that, you know, I'm the closest to, who I work every single day with on growing out the company. It's just like now there's no co-founders just because we've been too deep in the company. We've had success.
Yes. No, that makes sense. We've been talking a lot about, you know, a lot of good things that have been going on with you, things that, you know, you work, but obviously you're happy when you're working.
Yes.
One thing that you did amazingly was you were on the TED Talk.
Yes,
so that
I was
so
on a
powerful.
TED Talk.
Right, and that was something that's so powerful. But the thing is, that is something you have to do in front of so many people.
Yeah, actually,
live.
I didn't do it in front of anyone. It was during COVID.
What?
Yeah, I did it.
Oh my God.
COVID.
Okay, I saw
something?
this, and I thought the whole time there was an audience.
They definitely made it look like that.
They probably did.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably had like a background, like a little applause thing.
Okay, yeah.
But it was during COVID, and it was I was 18. It was my senior year of high school.
Wow.
I mean, the entire process was insane. It was in April, so it was a month into COVID, 1 month into COVID. So I thought the entire time I was going to be in front of an audience with 5,000 people.
Got it.
But obviously, like, school got canceled, everything got shut down. But I mean, I memorized an entire 6-page speech, which was great. I didn't have a teleprompter. I did have a teleprompter.
Okay.
I didn't know I had a teleprompter until the week of. So I memorized the entire speech, which was
and there was
blast.
nobody in front of just cameras.
There's
maybe a camera
5
guy.
people
Okay,
max.
wow.
My mother on the side.
I did not know this. So if you guys have watched his TED Talk, it was during COVID.
There's nobody. Yeah, it's deceiving. I mean, now they're back to normal, so it's in front of an audience, which is great. I do talks all the time in front of audiences, which is great. I love doing it. I just did one last month in front of a bunch of people in SF, and my team made the entire pitch deck, or a deck for the presentation. It was about DIY brand building.
Nice.
And I didn't look at any of the presentation slides until 5 minutes before.
No way.
So that was great. And I did great on it.
Yeah.
So
no, we sat in an audience where you spoke at Zavi.
Yeah.
And you did really great there too.
Thank
And
you.
there was a lot of people there as well. So
yeah, so I love talking when there's people there, but I also love talking when there's nobody there, and you know, being able to get myself to the next sentence.
Yes.
You know, when there's an audience, it's definitely easier because I can see how people are reacting. If they're bored, speed up the tone, slow it down, all that stuff, right? If you like looked at me right now and you're like, oh, this dude's just rambling on, I'd be like, okay, I'm done talking.
Yeah.
But you know, with nobody there, it's really hard to understand.
Yeah.
And growing up, like, as an influencer, live streaming for 5 hours a day, every single day, that's what I had to get good at, was improving to a bunch of people who I didn't know, who weren't talking to me, but responding on the comment section. So I'd do anything from reading Shakespeare and having fans teach me how to speak French to, you know, playing video games on the side. I was, one of my friends, Indiana Massara, she's an influencer. Her mom told me when I was like 16 years old, she was like, if you're not, well, I think my mom like got this quote out of her. My mom does this thing where she like forces people to say quotes, right?
Okay.
Wow.
So Indy's mom was on the phone with me, and she was like, Dylan, if you're playing video games, you're going to play video games, at least do it with an audience, because you have an audience. So from there on, I like felt like if I did anything, I need to have people watching what I'm doing.
Yes.
So it's been fun.
There you go.
Wow.
You kind of practiced for this TED Talk by being on these lives with 20,000 people, but it was just a phone. So
It was this time it was a bigger phone. It was a full-on camera.
Full-on camera,
Which is
yeah.
great. But yeah, I mean, you know, that one's different. It's like I'm standing, I'm not sitting this time. You know, it's in a big auditorium. There's more hand movements.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's going to get published forever, right? There's a lot of different things that's still intimidating. For me, like, a live stream is great because after the live stream, nobody's going to remember it, right?
Right.
Nobody's going to watch it.
Right.
Clipping wasn't big when I was 15 years old, where people would repurpose it. If
Right.
clipping was big now, I'd probably try to get all these kind of little sound bites that people could clip, but like, Now it's a whole different territory from when I was 15, 14 years old.
Wow. So,
I just want to stay on this
Yeah.
subject really quick because, again, everything about what we've learned from you today, there's been a lot of like ups in your life. Even when you were getting bullied, you seem to find a way to just like combat that and just keep moving forward. Has there actually ever been a time in your life where you were actually down and out and you were just like, I'm done, I'm not moving forward, I'm good where I'm at, like my parents could take care of me, and then you broke out of that spell that you had on you and you were like, you know what, no, I have to keep going. Like, have you ever had one of those times?
You know, every single month.
Okay.
And I think that's the joy of being an entrepreneur, is that there's always problems that you have to face. My biggest thing, like with an entrepreneur, is it's a problem solving like industry. Your position, your entire skill as an entrepreneur is to be a problem solver, right? And you know, there's a lot of times where I have ups and downs, and I think that every time I recreate who I am and who I want to be. I remember my mom tried to tell me this every single month when I like get upset at her. She's like, remember that you didn't want to grow reach and you wanted to quit, blah blah. You know, there's been so many moments like that. When I was director of outreach of the USC chapter, when I was early on, we had something called Big Little, which is like big in fraternity sororities, but we had that in USC reach, and my big tried to fight me because I called him out in the executive board group chat.
No way.
Because he didn't show up to an exec board meeting that we told him like 2 weeks in advance, and we told everyone.
Right.
We reminded multiple people.
Yes.
And I was like, dude, like where were you? And he got mad at me. He was like, I'm not gonna talk, or I'm not gonna like be spoken to by a sophomore in college. I'm a senior, super senior. Like, he needs to respect his elders, blah blah. I'm like, dude, it's a meeting. You weren't there. I can show you multiple messages. You acknowledge the fact that there was the meeting. There's no excuse, right? And he tried fighting me in front of a basketball game. He tried harassing me in front of the USC UCLA basketball game. I had to go to USC reporting. I wanted to quit because it was like an awkward situation. I was like, he's on executive board. He's right. He's been in this club longer than I have, and you know, if someone should be in the club, it's probably him because he's been in it longer, right? But my mother was like, no, keep going, blah, blah, keep working on the club. And I didn't quit. And I, took over the USC chapter, grew out, reached to now what we built it. There's moments like that, which, are times where I want to quit because of the situation. I mean, a good company has controversy. I have had my fair share of times like that where, people feel like they're entitled to who they are. I had an executive board member who was my VP, who got drunk in front of a bunch of celebrities, threw up in front of them, emailed a bunch of our members a bunch of people who we denied into our club saying that they got in, and then went to a whole spree because I was trying to remove that individual from my executive board just because of the professionalism of that aspect. Who went to USC, said I was not following bylaws, made up rumors that I was committing tax fraud, all these different things that are like the most like random absurd rumors, like that too. Like my COO at the time, who was my best friend from middle school and high school, he was like, dude, like this is gonna get too big, like you should just quit, blah blah blah. He was like, I'll take over. I'm like, no, like this is my company. I am confident that all of these accusations, I know myself, I know all these accusations are false, right? But a lot of people, especially as you get more successful, try to coerce you into position, power, or money. It's always those dilemmas. And as an entrepreneur and growing up and just out of college, I continue to recognize that more and more, that people, especially as you become more successful, you can't please everybody.
I love how you put a key into the word of problem solving being an important part of entrepreneurship.
It's like the defining factor.
It really is. It's seriously not it should be in the dictionary, like you are a problem solver, period. Because that's basically what we're doing every single day of our life. I mean, even this morning I had a 2-hour consultation with a client of our loan documents because he was concerned, but if I didn't solve the issue, there goes that transaction. So it's the same thing with anything like meeting people, that executive problem that you were going on with. You have to figure it out. And just like your mom pushed you, keep going, you did just that, and you excelled in it. You did what you needed to do. I think that's such a great note that people should realize, because people give up so fast, so easy on anything that they fail, because but that's not really failing. I think that
It's a learning lesson.
it
You're
is.
learning.
It's a learning lesson, and I think that's a perfect way of understanding. A failure to me is you giving it all you've got, and at the end, okay, fine, I lost, but you're learning from it and you go forward. Versus I failed, I lost. Okay, next. You have to keep pushing it.
Yeah, my mom and my brother and I tell that to our mom all the time because my mom started a company and she didn't really get anywhere with it.
Okay.
Well, we make fun of it because we're kids.
Sorry,
So
Mom.
We're kids.
Yeah.
But
Shout out
she
to Mom, we
every
love
Or sorry, Mom.
every time she's like, no, I didn't. And my company didn't suck. I just learned a lot.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
You know, so it's that notion that no matter what you're doing, you're always learning, whether it's a positive learning lesson or a negative learning lesson of what you shouldn't do in the future. It's always building you, and that's the environment that you put yourself into, grow into who you are as an identity. You know, the way I act, you know, the way I do things, the way that I tell my team to do things. It's all because of the environment that I put myself in and the lessons I've learned to say that this is how I think, and it could be wrong, but this is how I think the right way to go about approaching this problem is as a company.
Wow.
Yes, and I want to piggyback off of what you said because yes, problem solving in the entrepreneur world. I love that you were saying that, but you also stated that you need to be a creator, you need to be a problem solver, and I think most creators nowadays they go into this world of, well, I'm creating, I'm gonna make this video, it's gonna go viral, but they're not focusing on the problem solving in their line of work, and that's powerful.
In the same way, like a creator. And creators don't think this way. Industry leaders in the creator economy think this way. But a creator is a solopreneur or a small business or a media company. They are not just an actor. They're not just a music artist. They are building their own media production, right? And that's why you have the Darmans and the Alan Chicken Chows of the world and the Mr. Beast, the Mythicals, right? They're building their own companies, right?
That's
so
right.
as a creator, you want to think of yourself very similarly. If you're by yourself, you're a solopreneur. You're doing the editing, you're doing the videography, you're doing the acting,
That's
you're
right.
doing the screenwriting, you're doing the creative, you're doing the marketing,
Right.
right? You have to think like an entrepreneur. How can I set up my LLC? How can I find my bank account? How can I get a law firm to help me? How can I get all these different things? How can I make sure I have the right production costs?
Yes.
How can I budget everything? And as you scale, you're building your little team. You're building your startup. You know, I'm now hiring an editor, now hiring an assistant, videographer.
Yes.
Right now, as you grow out even further, you can be a Netflix. You know, Mr. Beast is the Netflix of the creator space.
That's
He
right.
has 100+ employees
Yes.
who are helping him grow every single day. He has different ventures, all of that. So it's really like a unique thing that more creators, if you start thinking of yourself as an entrepreneur, then everything starts to tie in. And for me, like that's always been my mindset is everything starts to feel like one simple problem and the solution is the same every way. Whether you're a creator, whether you're a music artist, whatever you're doing is the same problem solving approach.
Wow, I love that.
I love that so much. So you grew up in Silicon Valley with so much inspiration from your neighbors and people who are around you and being mentored by a lot of these people. Do you have maybe one or even if it's a couple of people who are your inspiration to this day? It could be your mom, your dad, maybe your brother. Maybe it's yourself, because sometimes we have people on this podcast and they're like, honestly, it was me. But everybody always has a different answer. And sometimes it's going to be tough when you have many people who have helped you along
It's a
the
great
way.
question. I think that there's always been people that have helped me on the way learn individual lessons. To say that I had, an individual person who inspired me, I would say I've never had that, just because I've always wanted to carve my own path and find what my calling is. I felt like if someone else was doing it or someone else could do it, that's a problem. That means it wasn't me and who I was. But I've always learned lessons. We've talked throughout this podcast about all these different lessons that I've learned, from every single person that I've met, all these different, Silicon Valley executives,
Yes.
friends from high school,
Right.
friends from college, talent that I managed to this day. All of them have inspired me. We have a talent that we represent on our talent division, Danelia Tulesheva, who, singer, 18 years old, won the Voice Kids Ukraine when she was 10, finalist on America's Got Talent when she was 13. She was on America's Got Talent Champions when she was 16.
Amazing.
Like that girl. Like if you go to my interviews when I was like again 16 years old. If you look at, she doesn't even know this. I've never told her this at all. But if you look at any of my interviews that I've done and it says, who's your favorite music artist? I always put her name.
Wow.
Because I thought she was a really talented artist when she was 10 years old on The Voice Kids, right?
Oh my
So there's
gosh.
always been these full circle moments
Wow.
of people that I've looked up to and getting involved. I speak at CES every year, Consumer Electronics Show. My mom and my dad were speaking at CES 10 plus years ago before I was, even in this industry. And for the last 3 years, they've brought me to speak, right? And they reached out to me. I didn't know them. I didn't know who they were. We didn't have family ties. We found out later on that the person who asked me to speak knew my mom, but didn't know that until after we started connecting dots
No
to
way.
each other,
Wow.
right? So it's been incredible to see these full circle moments of people in my life come to me, come back to me, who I've looked up to, who really shaped who I am, which has been great because my entire thing has been, I've always been consistent on my values and who I am as an individual since I was 14 and even younger. So to be able to be in the rooms with those individuals like a Cameron Dallas, who I've always looked up to. There's so many people that I've looked up to. Music, Macklemore has always been an idol for me. I've always loved Macklemore.
Yes.
Jake Miller, who is a pop singer, always looked up to him and his music. Social media content wise, Cameron Dallas was always the dominant person who I was always like, I want to be on MacCon.
Right.
I want to be on an influencer tour. On the business side, I mean, there's so many people. Scooter Braun on entertainment. The individuals that I, was surrounded with. Reed Jobs, Steve Jobs' son. Steve Jobs is a great person. I mean, every stereotypical person that has made it big, I've always said before, I want to be that person. And I still say that to this day. Cameron Dallas, I still want to be Cameron Dallas.
Wow.
Macklemore, I still want to be like him. Like these individuals, even if I think I've made it or other people think I've made it, I've never been complacent and satisfied with where I want to be, and I know that I can always go further, and thus, these individuals, even Danelia, who we manage, and I talked to her every single day. Before I was here, I was on the phone with her in my Waymo. I look up to all of these people, and that's what's great about the industry that I'm in and the businesses that I work with and the talent that I work with and the space that I'm in. I love my industry so much that I work with people that I love, that I respect, that I want to work with. The companies like Amazon, like DoorDash. Oh my God, I use DoorDash every single day. I love DoorDash. It's great. I've never cooked in the last 2 years. I love promoting them, and that's why these brands love working with me, is because I can come in as a fan, as a consumer, and say, this is what's going to be successful. On the creator side, same thing. I can go to my creators and say, this is what's going to be successful. I know Danelia. I know what her audience is. I know what she's capable of. She said I was heartless 3 weeks ago. No. And I was like, that's fine. Go call me heartless. But I told her, I was like, would you rather have someone who's brutally honest with you, who actually cares about you and knows who you could be, or do you want somebody who's just going to gaslight you and tell you everything that you want to be told?
Exactly.
I would rather have someone be brutally honest with me. And no matter if I look up to them or not, I will be brutally honest with you and tell you what I think you should do and who you could be, right? And I will never not do that. And I will always do that for every single person, because I want to help every single person that I surround myself with, whether it be surrounding myself with them for 1 minute or for the rest of my life.
I love that. Wow. So we're nearing the end of our podcast, and I wanted to ask you, you went into not being complacent and this ideology of going further in your life. So one of the questions we ask a lot of our podcast guests is, in the next 5-year period of time, starting, let's just say today, what is in store? What is something that's marinating behind your mind, like that little drip of, this is the future version of what you want to be in life? Have you yet got there, and do you understand what you want to do in about 5 years?
I want to do everything.
But what is that, right?
We haven't got that answer yet. We haven't got that answer.
Somebody said other things, but nobody's ever said everything, right? So what is that? Is there a way to scope that into something?
What I want to have, what I'm building at Reach is, like I said, it's my playground, but it's this new media conglomerate, right? We're currently working on feature films. We're about to raise a $50 million venture fund. Wow. We have equity in companies. I want to do a restaurant. I want to have a law firm with it. I want all these different aspects. The reason why I want it is because what I've realized here in the digital space is that everything is so connected. Yes. Everyone is connected. Everything is connected. Everyone needs to have a social presence. Everything needs to have a social presence. Digital is the ecosystem that is fueling the future.
Yes.
Which is great. We know that.
Right.
Love that. What I want to do is really build this environment where anyone like you guys, like my other creator friends, anyone can get access to the ecosystem that we're building and really understand that it's an ecosystem. You want to make a feature film, $5 million. Let's make it with Reach Studios. Then from there, if you need marketing, we have Reach Marketing. If you need talent, we have Reach Talent. You need a law firm with it, we have Reach Legal. After that, you make your movie, you made a bunch of money, you made $100 million, Reach Wealth Management. After that, you want to host a movie premiere, Reach Restaurant. You're going to go to San Francisco, Reach Hotels, right? And that's like an altruistic, like, future thing. Like,
of course.
It's not going to be a 5-year period. It's not going to be a 8-year period. It might not be a 10-year period. But that's always been my mindset. I never am someone to dream small. I'm always someone who keeps dreaming big. And I know, like, we talked about this.
Right.
I know when the right time is. This is not me saying, hey, tomorrow I'm going to start 500 different departments and own 500 hotels.
Yeah.
Right? This is me saying, I want these opportunities to come. And I would love, when the time is right, for this to be what I've become, is this ecosystem that's able to help anyone, whether you're creative, whether you're a business person, whether you are passionate about logistics, whether you're passionate about acting, social media, music, whatever you're interested in, that there's something that I can help you with.
Wow.
That's
Powerful.
one of the most powerful, unique answers that we have ever got. And we've had hundreds of our podcasts, but not everybody wants to go into so many different fields. They're more like, one subject that they're really thinking about. But the way you have your mind wrapped around everything, I literally can see your ecosystem with you and then everything around it, from law to everything you stated. And
well, I
that's
think
phenomenal.
the big thing is, like, usually people are very, like, narrow-minded in their industry, right? But my thought process is a little different, that I'm like, oh my God, everything is tied. Whatever industry you're in, if construction, you need social media marketing.
And
at
you still
construction.
need law.
You need law, you need legal,
real
in
estate.
case of insurance. There's so many things that any person, no matter who you are, it's the same thing of, like, everyone is 6 degrees apart, right? It's that same mindset. Wow, that's good. I've never said that before. But it's that same aspect of being 6 degrees apart, where it's like, hey, there's always something for you, and for me, that's the same thing. There's always something that I can do to help anybody, and I want to help every single person. I want to help. Anything that I can do to help you, I will do. Right? That means starting a law firm, connecting with my legal people. That's the aspect. And if I can verticalize it into one company, where we're always kind of being that ecosystem, that's the best thing.
That's so powerful.
Wow.
So
oh my
powerful.
God. Seriously.
I'll leave the iPhone to Apple though.
Okay, there you go. We'll leave that one up.
Wow, such a powerful statement. Seriously, we loved you on the podcast.
you.
You're so intelligent, man.
Thank you
This
for
was like
having
a
me.
top tier,
Like,
high-end 1% conversation.
Even the people that you recognize to be your inspiration was one of the most amazing answers we've ever got. And again, we've had hundreds of people.
You.
I mean, people with 15 million followers, whatever it may be, but there usually seems to be one person that inspires somebody, or maybe themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
But yours was so broad. There's so many different people, including yourself. You included yourself in the people that inspire you. So it's just, that was a really mind-blowing answer. But what we like to do, usually at our end of our podcast, because you already gave us so many gold nuggets, if you could just talk directly to the audience and just give them a piece of your mind, whatever you like to say, just, how to, what they could be inspired by for the time
a little
to come.
finale,
Yeah,
a little, one nugget, one
right,
liner.
Indirectly to them.
I love it. Well, I think we've talked about a lot of things on this podcast today, and I think the most important thing that I always love ending with is if you don't actually enjoy doing it, find what your true calling is, because there's only so many years of your life. Find what that path is, and you might not find it tomorrow. Might not find it next week. You might take years and years to find it, but find what that true calling is, because once you find that true calling, it's only uphill from there. So if you're down, you're depressed, you hate your job, you want to go into something else, do it tomorrow, do it next week, do it in a month. But there's always something for you. There's always someone for you. There's always an opportunity that's waiting at your door, and it's only a matter of time.
Wow.
That's
Powerful
amazing.
statement.
Love it. Needed to hear that.
That was great.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for being on
having
our
me.
podcast.
Yes, thank
Seriously,
you so
guys,
much.
expect these reels out. Thank you so much.
So
If we can
amazing.
applause, we would.
Yeah, right. We love it. Well, thank you so
Love it.
much. We appreciate you. This
Thank
was
you so much.
So many gold nuggets. So thank you. again
Thank
for being
you.
here. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.